The ocean has always kept its secrets. In its endless blue, countless stories have been born, and countless more have been lost forever. On a calm morning in the early winter of 1872, the Atlantic Ocean is a picture of tranquility. For the men who chart these waters, a day like this is a blessing. The rhythmic creak of wooden timbers, the snap of canvas catching a steady breeze, the taste of salt on the air, this is the familiar rhythm of life at sea. Cutting through this serene expanse is a brigantine, a handsome two-masted sailing ship. Her sails are perfectly billowed, her course seems true, a silhouette of human endeavor against the immense backdrop of nature. From a distance, she is a masterpiece of maritime engineering, sailing with purpose. But as our view draws closer, the familiar sounds of the sea are replaced by an unnerving, profound silence. There are no sailors on deck swabbing the planks or mending the rigging. The ship's wheel, a captain's trusted companion, is unmanned, swaying gently with the motion of the waves. No laughter echoes from the galley, no orders are shouted from the quarterdeck. The ship is a hollow shell, sailing on a ghost tide. This vessel is not just empty, it is a floating tomb, carrying a question that will echo through history for more than 150 years. This is the story of the Mary Celeste. Before we unravel this chilling legend, take a moment. If you love true unsolved mysteries and history's dark secrets, subscribe to our channel and support our quest to explore the world's greatest riddles. What do you think happened to the crew of Mary Celeste? Was it sabotage, a freak storm, mysterious fumes, or something supernatural? Drop your wildest theory in the comments below. And if you want more stories where the sea itself becomes a character, like this video now before the mystery deepens. Our story begins not with one, but with two ships, their captains bound by friendship and their courses set for an unknowable shared destiny. The first, the ship at the heart of our mystery, is the Mary Celeste. Her life began in 1861 on the shores of Nova Scotia, where she was christened the Amazon. From her very first voyage, misfortune seemed to cling to her like a shroud. Her first captain fell gravely ill and died before the journey was complete. On another trip, she collided with a fishing boat in the English Channel. Fires, groundings, and a string of unlucky captains followed, earning her the whispered reputation of a cursed vessel among superstitious sailors. In 1868, after being wrecked in a storm, she was salvaged, sold, and extensively refitted in New York. Her new owners gave her a new name, Mary Celeste, hoping a fresh identity would finally wash away the stains of her dark past. Her new captain was Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a 37-year-old mariner from Marion, Massachusetts. Briggs was the antithesis of the ship's chaotic history. He was a devoutly religious man, a teetotaler, and a highly respected sailor, known for his calm demeanor and impeccable skill. He wasn't just a hired captain, he was a part owner of the ship, having invested his life savings into this new venture. For Captain Briggs, this voyage was a symbol of a bright future. Making this journey even more special, he was joined by his beloved wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. To make their long journey more comfortable, Sarah brought along her sewing machine and a small organ. The plan was to sail to Genoa, Italy, with a valuable cargo of 1,701 barrels of raw, denatured alcohol, a volatile substance used to fortify Italian wines. 7 other experienced crewmen, all of good reputation, completed the 10 souls on board. On the crisp morning of November 7, 1872, with supplies loaded and farewells said, the Mary Celeste cast off her lines from Pier 50 on New York's East River. As she sailed out into the vast Atlantic, hope filled her sails. Our second vessel is the Dei Gratia, Latin for by the grace of God. She was a similar brigantine, also preparing for a transatlantic voyage. Her captain was David Morehouse, a fellow Nova Scotian and by a remarkable twist of fate, a good friend of Benjamin Briggs. The maritime world was small, and their paths had crossed many times. In fact, historical accounts suggest that the two captains had dinner together in New York the night before the Mary Celeste was set to depart. One can only imagine their conversation, two friends sharing a meal, talking of winds, tides, and the families they would soon leave behind, completely unaware that it would be their last meeting. The first 2 weeks of the Mary Celeste's voyage were challenging, but not unusual for the North Atlantic in late autumn. The ship's logbook, a stoic record of life at sea, notes periods of heavy weather and rough seas, but for an experienced crew led by a captain like Briggs, this was all part of the job. At 8 a.m. on November 24, 1872, Captain Briggs made a routine entry on the ship's log slate. He recorded their position, 100 miles west of the Azores Islands. The weather had improved, his notes were calm, professional, and gave no hint of any trouble. At 5 a.m. on November 25th, one final entry was made. The ship's location was noted as 6 miles off the coast of Santa Maria Island, the southernmost island in the Azores. The entry was simple, recording their position and course. And then, nothing. The logbook goes silent. The written history of the 10 souls aboard the Mary Celeste abruptly ends. The ship sails on, but its story vanishes. 10 silent days pass. The Mary Celeste drifts east, an aimless wanderer on the ocean's currents. At approximately 1 p.m. on Wednesday, December 4th, 1872, John Johnson, the helmsman aboard the Gratia, squinted at the horizon. About 5 miles off their port bow, he spotted another vessel. It was moving oddly, yawing in the wind. Its sails were disheveled. Some were torn, others were improperly set. It was sailing as if handled by a ghost crew or no crew at all. Captain Morehouse was called to the deck. He raised his spyglass. Morehouse's heart must have skipped a beat. He recognized the ship's distinctive lines and rigging. It was, without a doubt, the Mary Celeste. But it was hundreds of miles off its intended course for Genoa. It should have been much further east by now. Morehouse and his crew watched the vessel for nearly 2 hours. It drifted aimlessly, seemingly without direction. He ordered his men to hail her. Their calls echoed across the water, a hopeful shout into the void. The only reply was the mournful cry of the wind and the ceaseless whisper of the waves. A cold dread began to settle over the crew of the Gratia. Every sailor knew the terrifying legends of the Flying Dutchman and other ghost ships. To find one in the flesh was a chilling omen. With no sign of life and his concern for his friend growing with every passing minute, Captain Morehouse made a fateful decision. He ordered his chief mate, Oliver Duveau, and 2 other sailors to lower a boat and find out what had happened. As they rowed across the choppy water, the Mary Celeste loomed larger, a silent, imposing monument to an unknown tragedy. The moment Oliver Duveau's boots hit the deck of the Mary Celeste, he stepped into the heart of the mystery. The silence was absolute and unnerving. The ship was deserted. But there were no signs of the expected chaos. No bloodstains on the deck, no broken railings, no evidence of a violent struggle or pirate attack. The ship itself was seaworthy, though wet from sea spray and rain. There was about 3.5 feet of water in the hold, but with the ship's pumps in order, this was considered manageable, not a cause for panic. The deeper they explored, the stranger the scene became. The ship's single lifeboat, a small yawl that should have been secured on the main hatch, was gone. This was the first concrete clue. The crew had deliberately abandoned ship, but the reasons why were baffling. In the crew's quarters, their sea chests were tidy. Personal belongings, oilskin boots, and tobacco pipes were left behind. Essential items no sailor would willingly part with, especially before braving the open Atlantic in a tiny boat.
The captain's cabin held the most poignant and surreal clues. It was a snapshot of a family life interrupted. Captain Briggs's navigation instruments were missing, but his sword was left in its sheath. On a small table, a sewing machine belonging to Sarah Briggs stood ready for use, with a piece of her daughter's clothing still under the needle, the work unfinished. A child's toys were scattered. Sarah's small organ was in its place, secured against the wall. The scene did not speak of violence, but of a sudden, urgent, yet orderly departure. The ship's papers, vital for any port of call, were missing, but the captain's logbook remained. Perhaps the most perplexing discovery was in the cargo hold. The shipment of 1,701 barrels of alcohol was almost entirely undisturbed. The manifest was checked, and only 9 of the barrels were found to be empty. These 9 were made of red oak, a more porous wood than the white oak used for the others, suggesting they may have simply leaked over time. Crucially, the ship's 6-month supply of food and fresh water was untouched. There was more than enough to sustain them. Why would 10 people abandon a perfectly sound ship with ample provisions to face the perils of the ocean in a tiny boat? Captain Morehouse was now in an impossible position. Maritime law entitled him to a massive salvage reward, but this was his friend's ship. The thought of profiting from such a tragedy must have been agonizing. After careful consideration, he made the only practical choice. He split his own crew, sending his trusted chief mate, Oliver Duveau, and 2 other sailors to take command of the haunted vessel. For the next 2 weeks, the 2 ships sailed in tandem, a salvage ship and its ghost, on the long 800-mile journey to Gibraltar.
Upon arriving in Gibraltar, Captain Morehouse expected to be hailed as a hero. Instead, he sailed directly into a storm of suspicion. The Vice Admiralty Court that convened to handle the salvage claim was presided over by Frederick Solly Flood, the Attorney General of Gibraltar. A man known for his stubbornness, Solly Flood was immediately convinced of foul play. He couldn't fathom a crew abandoning a sound ship. His theory was brutal and simple. Morehouse and his crew had conspired with the crew of the Mary Celeste, or worse, murdered them all to claim the valuable ship and its cargo. An exhaustive investigation began. The Mary Celeste was practically dismantled in the search for evidence. A sword found under Captain Briggs' bed showed faint red stains, which Solly Flood declared to be blood. However, later testing proved it was merely rust. Some strange cuts were found on the ship's bow, which the prosecutor claimed were from a deliberate attack, though shipwrights testified they were common from rough seas. Despite 3 months of intense scrutiny, not a single piece of hard evidence of a crime was ever found. The court reluctantly ruled out foul play, but awarded Morehouse and his crew only £1,700, a fraction of the ship's $10,000 value. The small sum was a clear signal. The court still believed something was amiss. The official verdict was, in essence, a global shrug. The fate of the crew of the Mary Celeste was officially unknown. With no official answer, theories began to proliferate, from the plausible to the fantastic. Did pirates attack? It's highly unlikely. The cargo, the crew's money, and their valuables were all left behind. Was there a mutiny over the alcohol? Again, improbable. Captain Briggs was known as a fair leader. The crew had good records, and there were 0 signs of a struggle. Over the years, more fanciful explanations emerged. A giant squid pulling the crew overboard, an encounter with a UFO, the crew being driven mad by an alien fungus in the ship's bread. However, the most enduring and widely accepted theory is one of precautionary abandonment triggered by the cargo itself. The 9 leaky barrels of porous red oak may have allowed volatile alcohol fumes to slowly fill the hold. Captain Briggs, a cautious man with his family on board, might have feared an imminent explosion. The sound of vapor escaping could have been mistaken for a coming blast.
His logical response would have been to get everyone to safety, but not to abandon his ship entirely. The theory suggests he ordered everyone into the lifeboat, then attached it to the ship with a long tow line, planning to wait at a safe distance for the fumes to dissipate. But then, disaster struck. A sudden squall could have snapped the line, or the Mary Celeste, with its sails still partially set, could have caught a gust of wind and simply sailed away, leaving them behind. The 10 souls, including a 2-year-old, would have been left adrift in a small, open boat, watching in horror as their ship, their only hope, disappeared over the horizon. The final fate of the Mary Celeste was as ignominious as its history was mysterious. After the incident, it was sold and resold, its reputation forever tarnished. In 1885, its final captain deliberately wrecked it on a reef in Haiti as part of an insurance fraud scheme. A sad end for a vessel at the center of such a profound mystery. But what do you think happened? Was it the leaking alcohol, a freak wave, or something else the history books missed? Let us know your theory in the comments below. The mystery of the Mary Celeste continues to fascinate us because it touches upon our deepest fears of the unknown. If you find these unsolved stories as compelling as we do, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into historical mysteries. The true legacy of the Mary Celeste is not the ship, but the 10 people who vanished. Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their daughter Sophia, and a crew of 7 men. Their lives were extinguished without a trace. Their story stands as a solemn and chilling reminder that for all our progress, the sea remains a vast, powerful, and mysterious force capable of holding its secrets for eternity. Their final moments remain locked in the silent heart of the Atlantic, a ghost story written not with ink, but by the wind and the waves themselves.